This week was our second Tuesdays with Maury. There's just a few of us gathering right now, but each time I have walked away just feeling so much richer for the conversation. This week I asked a question like, how do you stay happy? And like, how do you maintain a sense of equilibrium? It's not that easy. We pretend like would be a more honest statement. We pretend like it's easy, but the truth is, most of the time, or at least some of the time, we're faking it. That life is challenging. There's an underlying nervousness or sorrow or frustration, or there's something going on, and just staying positive is no small feat in this world. So I asked the question, how do you do that? What is your secret? And one of the people in the group said something that I thought was so insightful. They said, it's actually been a lot harder since I stopped believing in the truths of Christianity. And somehow it was easier to be sad back then. And I thought about that. And actually, during our time together, that really hit me. Like so many things this person says, they're just so honest, so real. And I had never really thought about that it's easier to be sad as a Christian than, now that that's gone. As I wrestled with that and slept with it, I woke up with this idea that kind of made sense to me. Like, of course, faith offers help, outside help for sadness. As a Christian, I could turn to comforting thoughts like God wiping every tear from my eye, or, footprints in the sand, Jesus walking with me, right? I was going through this hard time and saying, where is God? And Jesus says the whole time there was only one set of footprints in the sand is that I was carrying you. So we just love that idea that God is with us through the hard times. Or just take the cross, the whole idea of God becoming human and suffering, a God who understands sadness. In fact, Jesus is called the man of sorrows, well acquainted with grief. So the scriptures we turn to most, I'll just think of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. The scriptures we turned the most to, almost every song we sing in the Christian tradition, it talks about how God is with us in sorrow. And so it makes sense that when the faith is gone, it's harder to be sad. You just really feel alone, or like there's nowhere to turn except at your sadness. Now, for me, as I've shared, my faith didn't unravel, in one instance. It was a slow process. It took many years. But if I had to put my finger on the point where I would say that's where my dark night really began, my faith ended and my dark night began, it would be the night that my daughter had a seizure. She was in high school. There had been no signs of this. This was out of the blue, and it scared me to death. It was a full-blown grand mal seizure, and I'd never seen anything like that. And, we called the ambulance, so we took her in, and, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was going to lose my daughter. And I just remember that night as I sat there in the waiting room, and of course the emergency room was packed, and only my wife could go back there with her. So I was sitting out there alone, wedged in between a whole bunch of other people, and I just felt so abandoned. And that night, I didn't pray, not a word. I didn't say anything to God, and it wasn't that I was mad at God. It wasn't that I didn't know what to say. It was that I knew that no one was listening. And I know how heavy that sounds, but I just knew it to be true. I knew that I could pray, but the God that I had turned to was just not there. That, even saying that, as I say that, I know it's like, wait a minute. Oh, well, don't give up. Like there's something in us that just wants there to be a God there to catch us, to make it okay, that we can turn to cling to in our sadness or when things are hard. And when I lost that, it was awful. I had to really struggle to exist. There were times when I didn't even want to exist. I could not have killed myself, just mainly because of what I knew what it would do to my wife, to my kids. I mean, killing myself, I knew was not an option, but if I could have checked out, if I could have in a natural way just been done with everything, I would have so gladly been dead, because that's how much it hurt. That's how dark and empty it was in that time. I describe this as a sensation of falling. And I have, the poem that came to me, that I was a preacher, a professor, a godsplainer, a rock. Then my high pulpit crumbled. I thought I would land, but I just kept falling. That's the first half of the poem, and it describes that breakdown. It also makes me think of a dream, a repeating dream I used to have as a child. I've been reading some Carl Jung lately, and so, I'm thinking more about my dreams and what the significance of them is. But in this dream, I was a child, and I was at this amusement park, and it was as a child, it was just like so captivating and so exciting to be there. And there was this ride, and it looked so fun. And the person who let you in, the ticket taker, was this kind of slimy looking man. Looking back, the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, he looked something like that. So you could tell there was something not right about this ride. But I wanted to do it so bad. It looked so fun. And strangely, my mother is also very prominent in this dream. She was there with me, and she was excited to, let me go on this ride. And so she let me go on the ride. And I went inside, and sure enough, it was sort of this bouncy, fun cavern, and I started crawling around. And then I came to this place where the floor just turned to eggshells. And I started falling, and I was falling through the air, and I looked down, and there were jagged rocks below, and, I woke up. And like, I don't know if you had that as a child. I used to have a bunch of falling dreams, and I would wake up, of course, right before I landed. But this dream repeated many times. I look back on that, and I kind of can see this breakdown of my faith there. I have my parents who, were trying to do the best they could for me and give me this faith and this framework and help me experience the fullness of life. But I went on the ride, and it broke, and I was falling. And it was, like this thing that was supposed to be so fun and life-giving and all of that was not real. And so there I was. Let me tell you the rest of my poem. So, I was a preacher, a professor, a godsplainer, a rock. Then my high pulpit crumbled. I thought I would land, but I just kept falling. So I traded get it. So I just kept falling. So I traded my firm foundation for a set of wings and made my home on a rush of wind. Now, what I just said, those two sentences, that's the transition for me. That did not come easily. And it's in some ways difficult to describe, but it's what I've been trying to do for the past almost year now. And that is to describe the shift from going to a hope and a foundation that is based on whether it's a story of faith or, there are lots of other stories people base their lives on too. But when those shatter, we have this horrible existential crisis. And we are plunged into this, yikes, who am I? What's going on? And I won't go through my whole spiel with you here, but that took shape in the three specters for me. I'm lost, I'm longing, I'm lonely. There's this darkness, but as I learned to face up to that, I found that there was life on the other side, not by ignoring it, not by turning back to the story, but by going through it, facing the darkness. And so the lostness became a choice of wonder and adventure. The longing became acceptance of my mortality and a sense of playfulness about life. And the loneliness became compassion and kindness. These are choices that I make. These are not like based on any story. I start with those choices about my existence, and then that allows me to enter back into the story of my life in a new way. So that story, whether it's this faith story or my personal story or, like my dream for my life or my plan for the day or whatever the story is no longer the foundation of my life. It is the expression of my life. So you might put it this way, my yes to life is where I start. And then my story flows out of that. And the other way, the way I grew up, it's just the reverse. The story of my life, the faith foundation, all of that was the foundation. And if I could get that working out, then okay, yes to life. But if the story cracked, I was dead because the story was my life. I hope that's making some sense to you. But that reorientation from a circumstantial happiness to an existential happiness has been mind-blowing for me. And it's the reason I'm doing all of this, because I think there are others who need this. In fact, just to be bluntly honest about this, I think everyone needs this because stories always crack. And so this new existence I found is the thing that I'm trying to describe and trying to share. And it's just, in a way, it's just reorienting. It's just, my life is very much the same. I still have the same wife, still, same guy doing but the way I look at things has completely changed. And that has changed everything for me. There's a second poem that I've shared, and it sort of describes more the life. And it goes like this. I'm falling through the air, from who knows whence to who knows where. I find the songs that to me matter and sing 'em till the day I splatter. I'd love to harmonize with you, play music till the day is through. My life is such a wondrous cup. Why not drink it facing up? So it's this, again, this shift from the story as the foundation to the story as the expression and an existential basis for my life. I'm trying to put this right now into a short course that I'm calling Orientation. So look for that after the first of the year. I'm excited to share this. It's really, it's the culmination of everything that I've been through. And I'm trying to make this pretty short and sweet because orientation doesn't take a long time. Now, take the analogy of being out hiking. I'm out in the woods and I'm hiking down the trail, and sometimes I will meet somebody who's lost, and they come up and they go like, "Hey, do you know where I am?" And I'll pull out a map and I'll show them, "You're here, the car's there, the lake's that way. It's about 4 miles there, 2 miles." Just get them oriented. Didn't change anything about where they were. They still have to hike the same trail, but it changed everything about their experience, orientation. And that whole thing can happen very quickly. And that's what I'm trying to put together, is sort of that orientation. That's what I hope to share with you in a clear and concise way. So just want to let you know that I'm doing that. It's something that you can look forward to if you're interested in that. A second observation, though, that came out of our group last week, which I thought was also profound, was just when you lose your faith, you also lose your faith community. And so, in addition to this loneliness of like, well, there's no God to cling to, there's also nobody. I mean, there might be some people in your life, or maybe you've made some new friends, but I mean, that's not that easy to do. And a faith community gives you a community. And whether or not you believe all the stuff, at least you have some people you can meet with on a regular basis. And they ask you how it's going, and they actually care, and you just feel connected and loved. And when you lose that, it's really hard. And that's why the second part of what I'm doing, the Tuesdays with Morrie and the Facing Up Club, the reason I call this the Facing Up Club is because I really am trying to create a place where people who have lost that faith community can come together in whatever state you may be in and just find community. So I want to invite you to be a part of that. There's only, 3 or 4 of us that join right now. It's very small. So you're not going to be overwhelmed by a huge crowd of people, but I just would encourage you to think about that. There is a fee I charge. You can pick your rate. It's $10, $15, or $20 a month. But if that's a problem for you, just email me and say, that's a problem for me, or whatever. I'm broke, whatever it is. But you can do it for free. I want you to be in that group. I do that charge because I kind of want to weed out people who are just casual about this. And also, of course, there are expenses with doing this podcast and creating the community. So you can go to the community page to find out more about that. But those two things are what I hope will help people. And it's why I've been doing this every week now. For January 5th will be the 1-year anniversary. And I suspect I'll be doing this 10 years from now and 20 years from now until I take that big, great leap into the mystery. Thanks for listening, you guys. I hope to see you. I hope to connect with you. And I hope that you, if you're in that place of having lost or having a shattered story, that you are beginning to, or maybe you already have, discovered an existential basis for happiness that doesn't depend on the weather.